Dr Umar's Podcast is a series of podcasts providing career advice, work-based tips and learning skills, helping you become a better doctor with a healthy work-life balance. These podcasts are in association with MRCPCH speciality courses, who specialise in courses in interview skills, application form writing and communication skills. Check it out on mrcpch specialitycourses.co.uk. So, failure, again, like I say, it's not the end. It's really important to fail because it's a way of giving us feedback to ourselves. But great, I've told you about why it's good or why it's important to fail. But what are you going to do now that you have failed? Say you've gone for an interview and it didn't go your way. You sat the clinicals and you didn't pass. Whatever the situation is, the first thing I suggest you do is deal with the emotion. If you want to get angry, get angry. You want to just get away from people and have your own space, go and do that. Sit with people who are not involved in that field at all, so that you don't get that sense that you're being judged, which you're not anyway, but sometimes we just need that space. Deal with it. I didn't get a job I wanted once, and when I get the phone call and say, look, thank you very much, but unfortunately you weren't successful, it ticks me off, of course, because I've gone to the interview wanting the job. I sit an exam, I don't get the outcome I wanted. I give myself, I walk out the house, I go for a walk. I will call people to vent. I do it away from my kids. I don't want them to see me upset, angry, annoyed. Sometimes I just say, Daddy, Daddy, how was your exam? Oh, I got the results. I didn't pass. And I'm very open with my elders. I say, look, sometimes you ain't going to win, and that's fine, But before I've done that, before I've had that very rational conversation, I tend to sort of have my mood swings and I deal with the emotions, but I make a point of saying that the line has now drawn, we move forward. Okay, so you give yourself a time limit of how long you're going to be like this, because you don't want to be self-destructive and you don't want to be destructive towards other people around you. So once you've sort of given yourself a day or two, you're now ready to move forward. So what are you going to do? The first question you have to ask yourself is, why did you fail? What did you do that contributed to this failure? And you've got to be really honest with yourself. I mean, one thing I hear a lot from various sort of people that come to me for advice or they've come to me for their interview prep is, I didn't get the job last time because, they discriminated against me. And I said, I can never say to someone that it's 100% not true, but reality is it probably, no one discriminated against you, it's, you just didn't have the qualities, or you weren't the right person, or the person interviewing alongside you was better than you. And I think that it does take time for us to come to terms with that someone was better than us. Or, at the clinical exam, the examiner, he wasn't paying attention, or, he probably didn't like to look at me, or, he was whatever. But I think you really got to be honest with yourself and sit there and say, were you ready for this situation? Were you ready for the exam? Were you ready for the interview? Did you prepare? Did you feel there was nothing more you could do? And if so, when they asked you the interview questions or when you had the exam questions, were you taken by surprise? And if you were, then if you're really unlucky or your preparation clearly wasn't, the best it could be. So you got to have that honest approach. And if you weren't ready, okay. The next thing you got to ask yourself is, well, how did you prepare for this? How did you prepare? And was it the right way to prepare? Did it mirror the type of situation you're going into? Did you read the right books? Did you look at the curriculum outcomes? What you did, was it the right thing? And if you did prepare, did you prepare long enough? And sometimes when it comes to exams, I think what we do, we just say, oh, what books do people read? They read this book, they read that book, and they just read the book and they have an idea of the sort of question that's going to come up. The one thing people don't actually do is look at the curriculum. Like at the moment, I'm going to sit my my accreditation in cardiac MRI, because within pediatric cardiology, CT and MRI is what I, sort of specializing in. And so, fine, I know the book that the exam offers, and of course I'm going to read that book. But there's also a curriculum, and the exam is based on the curriculum, the syllabus. So have you actually read it? Now, I admit, sometimes the syllabus can just sound like the index of a book, so you're no clearer for it. But equally, I think it's a good way to tick and check what you're doing is the right thing. So recheck the curriculum, think about whether you did cover those tasks, and if you didn't, well, that's where you got to go. The next thing, really, once you've sort of come to think about why you failed and what you could have done differently, is now make a plan. Think about how you managed your time. Did you just do a week of long days, a week or on the week of the exam? Had you just done loads of night shifts? All of that is going to have a massive bearing on the outcome of, what you were facing. So you've got to look at, and again, if you're like, you haven't failed something, but you are going on to your exams, you've got to think about, what's the date of this exam? Let me look at my rota around that time. It may be 3 months down the road, but look at it and think about it. Do I have nights? Do I have long days? Can I swap out? Can I move things around? Can I free myself up? Make sure that I'm well rested. Make sure that I've maximized my revision. It would also give you an indication of how you need to start, what you need to do. So again, it's about thinking ahead, managing your time. The next thing within your plan making, what were your obstacles last time? Again, we've talked about on-calls, family, other commitments. Are there birthdays? Are there special events coming up nearer to the exam or the interview that actually you may need to prepare a bit sooner so that you're not cutting yourself short? Do you have other commitments? Whatever they may be. Can those things be done by someone else? Or which you may need to talk to someone about? Or do you need to prepare earlier to ensure that you can still meet those commitments? Talk to people. I think when you first get told, me, and I'll give you a story when I failed my clinicals. When I walked into my clinicals, everyone was just like, Umar, you're going to be absolutely fine. You're so good with patients. Your comm skills are really good. your clinical skills, you're good, you'll be fine, yeah, you'll be really great, and sometimes you believe the hype, and even though I prepared, I went in, I did my clinicals, I failed, and I absolutely hated myself. I really hated myself. I was so embarrassed. And you get that awkwardness, don't you? Oh, did you pass your clinicals? When results will come out, people are celebrating. No. And okay. Oh, it doesn't matter. And you hate that sympathy response. It's horrible. And you just think, everyone just put me up on this pedestal, thinking that, this is going to be a walk in the park. And clearly it wasn't. And so, I remember thinking, why did I fail? I read everything. And you get this feeling that I can't be bothered because I actually have put in all this effort and I failed. Truth is, your efforts are not wasted. You still got that muscle memory, as it were. And it will make the second time easier. As long as you don't postpone the second attempt so far down the road, right? So it's not wasted. You've got to think about what you had done, like I've been saying, where you were taken by surprise, and realize actually this is where my gaps were. That's why doing mock exams are so important. Putting yourself in that situation, simulating it is so important so that you can really experience it beforehand, before it actually counts. So things I changed was, okay, fine, I've got to read different books. I can't just memorize things. I need to have deeper understanding. I've got to develop an ability to think laterally. So actually, I need to learn what I've learned, but learn it deeper. Appreciate what I'm trying to understand it. And so, it happens to all of us. But based on what I've said about what you do when you fail, I apply those sort of principles to myself all the time. And my clinical is not the only time I failed. There are many things I failed in. But it's about understanding why you failed and making adjustments properly, not just going back in and repeating the same mistakes, going with the same preparation, treating it like the first time round. If you do that, you are going to fail again. And you're not going to get the exact same questions. So your preparation has to be organic. You can't just do the same thing again. You've got to really think about why you are unprepared and prepare yourself, better the next time round. One of the things I like listening to are blinks. Blinks are, and I'm not saying this as some sort of endorsement. I don't have time to read loads of books. I don't. You can all imagine how busy my job is and how busy my personal life as a parent can be. So, as much as I would love to sit and read books, I don't have the time. But Blinks is an app where they summarize books in audio format, and I do like listening to them because they give you the key points of books. One of the sort of books that I really liked was something called Power Failure, and it talked about GE, which is a very famous healthcare company, tech company, which those that sort of know the logo will know what I'm talking about. And it talked about how they as a company sort of became successful. Some of which was luck. Some of it was talent and structure. But also hard work. And the book, and these sort of books, this book and other books within the failure realm, looked at, the lessons of success from others. And what I sort of came to realize from this book and from others, that actually staying flexible is really important. So it goes back to what I'm saying. You go back in for a second round of the exam or the interview with the same preparation, you're going to do the same thing again. When you're in a position that you feel really crap, you've got to step back and say, well, what's the bigger goal? Where am I heading long term? Stop looking at it as that this is the end goal, And so think about what the bigger goal, what are you trying to achieve long term in your career? And don't lose sight of that. Stick to your values. It's all, you're doing this all for the benefit of you being a good doctor. Take on feedback. So, these companies, they look at what's not selling, they do their market research, they listen, and they're able to adapt. Now, fine, we're not industry, but taking on feedback is really important. Being willing to listen to feedback, getting the feedback from your interview, because I remember asking when I didn't get the job I wanted. I said, look, I said thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate being asked to come to the interview. I would really appreciate some feedback, just so that I can work on myself. Maybe I'll reapply next year. And they sort of explained to me what it was about me that didn't make me as favourable as the person they took. So that's okay, fine. So there were things lacking on my CV. I need to go and work on that. So it didn't matter how good I thought my CV was. That panel were looking for something specific. I lacked that. Therefore, there was an excuse. There was a reason why I wouldn't be taken on. And so, again, it's about taking on, finding a new course of self-improvement and becoming successful next time around. There was another podcast I listened to on the psychology of failure. And again, it's a normal response to have this fight or flight. Either you go in like, I want to do it again, or actually you just want to lock yourself up and just eat chocolate. And that's fine too. Because we fear the consequence of failure, the embarrassment. Oh my God, I've wasted all this money. Exams are expensive. They are. Can't claim them back. And so it's so important, therefore, when you're going to sit this exam a second time round and pay again, is to evaluate why you went wrong, what you can do better. And you've got to be open then to that sort of thinking. And talk about it. Talk to people that have passed. How do they prepare? What do they do differently? And get, be open to the conversation. And that's why, I offer sort of coaching sessions where people are going completely wrong in their sort of life. And things are going wrong. And they just need someone to give them an objective, non-biased view. Because sometimes when people know you quite well, biases kick in, and you don't want someone telling you you're amazing. What you want to know is realities and advice that's going to help you to improve. And again, it's, you got to really want to try. So again, don't get to the point where you think this failure is basically, I'm going to be helpless now. No. Take it on the chin, as it were. A bit cliche, I know. And look at things as projects. This is what this failure podcast was talking about. Look at things as projects, not the end point. Exactly what I've been sort of saying. So you're going to learn from it, and you're going to change the outcome second time round. And don't forget, you're not defined by your accomplishments. You are not the exam. You are not a good doctor or a bad doctor because you passed or failed the exams. Unfortunately, you need these things to move to your bigger goal. And so do not think this makes you, if you pass your exams, you're a good doctor, because there's no validation there. It just means that you've met certain criteria to allow you to move on to the next stage. Does not say you're a good doctor. So likewise, if you fail, doesn't mean you're a rubbish doctor. Think about all the good that you've done. So look, failure is something that is our first attempt in learning. It may well be a turning point in the way you learn and end up becoming a better doctor for it. Or it may actually be a sign that maybe this is not the area for you within your field. But the only way you're going to know this is if you give yourself time to process the emotion, move the emotion to one side, and start to understand what's happened, why it's happened, and what you can do differently. And sometimes you're going to need to ask people. So find someone that you trust, find someone that's going to be objective with you, and is going to be able to help you move forward. You never know. Something great may come from your failure. So don't be fixated in your failure that you don't notice it. As I say, you do you. So with that, I wish you best of luck if you are listening to this and you're going through, a moment like that. Goodbye. Thank you so much for listening, and please do subscribe.